My girlfriend's ex-boyfriend came back to the country and insisted I take her to his welcome dinner. At the banquet, someone asked my girlfriend, "Willow, is there anyone here you like?" She bit her lip and smiled lightly, then replied with a single word, "Yes." However, when she said that, her gaze wasn't directed at me. Instead, it was on her ex-boyfriend, Makoto. Just when everyone thought I would just sit there quietly like a coward, I stood up and said, clearly and loudly, "You really are a bitch." Chapter 1. My girlfriend Willow said that some of her friends were back from abroad and asked me to drive her to a welcome back party. When we got there, I found out it was actually a party to welcome her ex-boyfriend. He was wearing a gray coat with a warm-colored scarf, which made him look composed and reserved. I saw Willow's eyes light up. At the dinner table, the gossip-loving Sophia asked him, "Makoto, you've been abroad for so many years. Do you have a girlfriend now?" The man hesitated for a moment and answered with a slightly bitter tone, "The deepest love I've ever experienced, nothing else can compare to that." After saying this, he glanced at Willow, then lowered his head and smiled faintly. I furrowed my brows and tried to put my arm around Willow's shoulders, but she subtly pushed me away. She said in a calm voice, "I'm going to the bathroom." My throat felt dry. What does this mean? Does she not want to act close to me in front of her ex, or is she just not comfortable with it? The atmosphere in the room was getting warmer. After a while, Makoto grinned and came over to add me on social media. He said, "Willow's mentioned you before. You're a good guy." I was speechless. I don't have a habit of checking my girlfriend's phone, but his words seemed to imply they had never lost contact. I frowned and clenched my fists, glancing at Willow absent-mindedly. Just in time, our eyes met, but I knew clearly she wasn't looking at me. Makoto casually draped his arm over my shoulder and started chatting with me about their college days. For a moment, I almost mocked myself for overthinking it. Maybe they're just classmates. While she was away in the bathroom, I opened Makoto's social media moments. His profile picture was a solo shot of him by the sea. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly opened Willow's moments. Same scenery, same spot. Clearly, it was a couple's photo. Then I overheard a conversation between Willow's best friends. Sophia said, "I'm not saying this, but Willow, Makoto is so stable and kind. He knows how to treat people well, and you two have known each other for so long. Unlike George, who's so chauvinistic and selfish, he wouldn't even give up his bank card. Our dream as women is to marry a husband who knows how to care for us." Right. Alicia agreed. "Plus, he hasn't had a new girlfriend after 3 years abroad. He's obviously waiting for you." Just now, he was eager to pay for the meal. Look at George. He was only focused on eating. Didn't even notice things like that. Maria nodded and added, "I have a say in this too. When we were abroad, he was always frowning, staring at your photos and telling me not to tell you, because he didn't want to disturb your life. He just wanted you to be happy. I couldn't stand seeing him like that. For years of relationship, there's no way it just ends like that. Here, this is the bag he bought for you while he was abroad, when George isn't around." They didn't know the bathroom in the private room wasn't soundproof. When I came out, after exchanging a glance with each other, they shifted to a different topic. I sat back and silently watched. Makoto sang several sad love songs, one after another, especially when he sang that one song about a guest. His eyes blatantly focused on Willow. He said, "Thank you for the special invitation to witness your love." The fleeting look of sadness and regret in his eyes didn't escape me. Willow, feeling seen, scrambled for a drink, trying to cover up her unease. I hid in a corner and quietly laughed to myself. It's been years since I've seen a drama like this. In the second half of the evening, someone suggested playing games. The first few questions were decent, but the later ones were either intentional or deliberate. Willow kept losing. One of the questions was, "Have you ever regretted breaking up?" Willow hesitated, and glanced at me awkwardly. I kept my polite smile. She stammered, No. I noticed Makoto's hand was trembling slightly as he held his glass, but Willow still saw the emotion in his eyes. The last question was, "Is there anyone here you like?" She answered with a single word, "Yes," but her gaze wasn't directed at me. It was on her ex-boyfriend, Makoto. It was like she was trying to make up for the disappointment she caused him with her last answer. I nodded and stood up, speaking slowly, "You really are a bitch." Chapter 2. I hadn't left yet, but they were exchanging flirtatious glances right in front of me. I'm not some tragic character from a melodramatic story, so why should I be the bigger person? What's being magnanimous even mean? Is it just cowering and comforting yourself by thinking you're above it all? If I hesitate for even a second, I'm disrespecting myself. I immediately slapped Willow across the face and said, "You're a pile of shit." Then, I stood up, wiped my hands, and scanned the room. I really don't get the brainwaves of you single-celled creatures. You're trying to match up someone who's already got a boyfriend with her ex, acting all fancy like you're someone special. Can't you do something decent for once? I looked at Sophia and said, yeah, I'm a big macho man. What are you gonna do about it? I'm not handing over my paycheck card. What's it got to do with you? You don't know how to be a decent human, but you're always scheming how to control others. Right, we're even sorting trash now, so do yourself a favor and go where you belong. All right. Then, turning to Alicia, I smiled and said, don't worry, I just love to eat. Got a big appetite. Next time, go attend your funeral banquet. I'll sit at the kids' table at your funeral feast and celebrate why someone so young doesn't see the next day's sun. Oh, wait, it's because their tongue's too long, and Yama's too kind to let them wander around the human world. Finally, to Maria, I said, singing off-key means you're tone-deaf, but speaking out of tune, maybe your brain isn't working properly. You love running errands for others so much. Not becoming a courier is such a waste of your talent. Then I turned to Willow and said, just break up already. Don't waste my time. Sophia's face turned pale with rage, and she yelled, what are you barking for, you dog? I smiled faintly and said, first time I've seen so much shit in one place. I'm just too excited. As I was about to leave, Makoto grabbed my arm and tried to smooth things over. Bro, Willow and I really don't have anything going on. Don't act like this. We haven't seen each other in so long. We just wanted to catch up. If I upset you, I'll leave right now. I asked coldly. Stop with the bullshit. You know I'm upset, and yet you still came here. What's your game plan? Makoto turned pale when he heard this and apologized. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I just. With that, he looked at Willow with a face full of guilt. I yanked him by the collar and said, I'm the one asking you questions. What are you looking at her for? Does her face have the answer? Willow shot up like her tail was stepped on, biting her lip and said, George, why are you bullying people like this? Do you think Makoto's easy to pick on? You're going too far. The others started to fight back at me. Alicia said, seriously, I've got no words for you. We should never have agreed when you chased after Willow. Who do you think you are? Sophia chimed in. Yeah, we like Makoto way more. Someone like you is destined to be lonely forever. Maria snorted and said, if you're not happy, just call the cops. Makoto's more gentle and magnanimous than you. You're just jealous. Chapter 3. I gave a contemptuous smile and looked at everyone. Alicia, if you can't speak, go learn sign language. Do you want me to teach you? Did Willow call your mom? Does it matter whether she agrees or not? Does she need to report to you every time she pees? Sophia, you're truly like a cockroach sneezing, spraying shit all over your mouth. If you know I'm right, so go ahead and write this down. I'm not the type to die alone, so you don't need to worry about me. What I'm worried about is whether you can handle the consequences of talking like that without getting your ass kicked. Maria, you know so much about his character. Are you sure you've spent so much time with him that you've experienced it firsthand? The world's big, but it can't match the size of the gap in your brain. And by the way, I can't call the cops, because I'd need the dog catcher squad for you. Promise me, next time at least try to pretend to be human. Could you make it look a little more convincing? Finally, I turned to Willow, who looked a bit stunned, and smiled faintly. Willow, your heart's higher than the sky. So what? You're trying to play both sides. Huh? Who do you think you are? With that, I turned and walked off, but Willow followed me out. With a pitiful look on her face, she said, George, it's all my fault. Everyone just said Maria and Makoto hadn't seen each other in so long since they returned from abroad, so they all decided to get together. I didn't expect it to turn out like this, she said. I'm sorry. Can you not be mad? She wiped her wet hair, her beautiful face full of guilt. I asked, then what did that look mean when you were staring at him earlier? Willow paused for a few seconds and then said, maybe it's just because we haven't seen each other for so long. After all, we still move in the same circle. I didn't want things to get too awkward. I laughed. Willow, the background picture on your phone, that's a couple photo, right? Willow froze, quickly glanced at Makoto, who had just walked out, and said, it's not what you think. I just forgot to change it. She quickly opened her phone and switched the background to a photo of us together. I stared at her for a few seconds, and she nervously lowered her head, mumbling, George, I've been broken up with him for 3 years. I really have no feelings for him anymore. Do you believe me? Can we not break up? Let's go home. I'm George. When I say it's over, it's over. But before I could speak, Makoto ran up to me. He apologized sincerely. It's all my fault. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't have come and interrupted your happiness. I just wanted to see her one more time. I was speechless. I asked, so, should I just let you have your way? His eyes were frantic as he coughed a couple of times and said, I didn't mean it like that. Sorry, I'll leave now. Don't fight because of me. But just as he turned around, he almost collapsed. Willow hurriedly supported his arm, saying, why did you drink so much? Don't you know you're allergic to alcohol? Her voice full of concern. Makoto, supported by her, looked at her with deep affection and said, I was just so happy, I didn't realize. I crossed my arms and watched them. Willow bit her lip and explained to me, George, Makoto's allergic to alcohol. He could be in danger if he drinks too much. Can I take him home? I was confused and asked, what do you think, Willow? The next second, Makoto muttered, it's so itchy. He pulled at his collar, and the skin on his neck turned bright red. Willow, her eyes full of worry, said, don't scratch, you'll make it worse. I stared at Willow and asked, Willow, are you sure you want to go with him? She shook my arm and pouted, George, I'll come back to you after I take him home. He might need to go to the hospital, I replied. Okay. I walked past them, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flash of smugness in Makoto's eyes. Later, I saw his WeChat moments, where he posted, on this cold night, I'm glad you're here. The picture was of a woman's back in a kitchen. Of course, it was Willow. Chapter 4. I met Willow through work. She has a gentle personality, stunning looks, and the most important thing, an amazing figure. To be blunt, I was just after her body, so I directly started pursuing her. After a series of accidental encounters and romantic surprises, I successfully won her over. It's been a year now. I knew she had a boyfriend of 4 years, but that was in the past. She said he'd gone abroad and wouldn't be coming back, so I didn't bother to dig deeper into their situation. Looking back now, their breakup wasn't because of a lack of love, but rather the objective reason of long distance. Thinking of Makoto's smug post on social media, my nails dug deep into my palm. I, George, have always been a dominant figure in the street. If I had a grudge, I'd settle it on the spot, but I didn't expect this ex of hers to be so sneaky. This is starting to cross into my blind spot. I need to think this through. Willow sent me a message. Babe, it's raining tonight. I bet you didn't bring an umbrella. I'll pick you up after work, then we can go to your place. Is that okay? I was about to refuse when the team leader came in with a new recruit. I looked up, and to my surprise, there he was, Makoto. Things were starting to get interesting. I deleted the message I was about to send and replied with one word, okay. I wanted to see what he was up to. After the introductions, Makoto walked straight up to me with a sincere look and said, George, what a coincidence. I look forward to working with you. He still had that warm, gentle demeanor, but I knew this wasn't a coincidence. It meant one thing. He and Willow had been in contact all along. How long had this been going on? I stared at Willow's profile picture, trying to remember. At the newcomer gathering, Makoto didn't drink. When I went to the bathroom, I ran into him. He smiled, washing his hands, and said, sorry, George. Willow came over to my place yesterday. You're not mad, are you? His apology couldn't hide the smugness in his tone. I laughed. Why would I be mad? I'm not a trash can. I don't take in every piece of garbage. His smile froze, but he quickly regained his composure. As he walked past me, he said faintly, I was with her for 4 years. You think 1 year of dating can compare? I really couldn't understand his logic. Who the hell wants to fight over trash? If I toss it, I'll just find another girl. What's the big deal? He continued. If something happens to me, she'll definitely come to me first. George, be smart. Don't compete with me. I laughed out loud. You really are a trash can. You really know how to pack things. You look like a QR code. No one even knows what you are until they scan it. Makoto's face turned pale with rage. Chapter 5. After dinner, a heavy rain started pouring down. I saw Willow standing outside holding an umbrella. When she saw me, she walked towards me happily. But when Makoto came out, she paused in her tracks. She deliberately didn't greet Makoto and walked straight to my side, linking her arm with mine, handing me the umbrella, and saying, George, let's go. I didn't take it and instead took out my own umbrella, saying, I brought my umbrella. She froze for a moment upon seeing my action. Willow wasn't angry. She still spoke softly. George is so thoughtful. With such heavy rain, one umbrella would leave both of us soaked. A colleague who passed by asked Makoto. Makoto, didn't bring an umbrella. He replied with a quiet At that moment, a thunderclap sounded, and Makoto sighed, saying, really unlucky. Looks like I'll have to get soaked. I clearly saw Willow's hand tighten around the umbrella. Pretending not to care, I looked at her and said, let's go. She replied with a soft her gaze drifting toward the heavy rain as she muttered, this rain might last all night. I understood what she meant. She was worried about Makoto, who didn't have an umbrella. Can't get a taxi. The rain kept pouring down. Without changing my expression, I opened the umbrella and walked into the rain. In my peripheral vision, I saw Makoto frown, looking at Willow with a pitiful expression. Soon enough, Willow's figure appeared beside me. She pretended as if she hadn't noticed anything, lightly saying, let's go. We'll head home. When we reached the subway entrance, her phone lit up. Her eyes darkened, her face full of concern. I smiled and asked, is your best friend looking for you? When I asked, She seemed to snap out of it and nodded absent-mindedly, but her gaze was still fixed on the rain outside. The sound of the rain was like someone crying. I asked, "Willow, are you sure you want to go to my place now?" She answered, "Of course." I chuckled lightly, then deliberately asked, "Are you worried about Makoto not having an umbrella?" She bit her lip and said, "Of course not. Don't think like that about me. I'm not in contact with him anymore." After saying that, she tried to nestle into my arms like she usually did, but I extended my arm to keep a safe distance, casually saying, "All right, I believe you, but if I find out you're lying, Willow, it won't be a simple let's part ways nicely." She paused for a moment, then looked up at me and coldly snorted. "I wouldn't." I nodded and pretended to be magnanimous, saying, "Fine. How about we just go home separately today? The rain's too heavy. My place is far. Don't catch a cold. Also, we've run out of stuff, so it's not convenient to buy more. Don't bother. Actually, I've got some work to do, so I'll be late." Her place is in the opposite direction. She hesitated for a long time, then carefully looked at me and asked, "Then should I just go home now?" I nodded. Seeing that I didn't insist, she started walking in the opposite direction, but I followed her closely. After exiting the station, I saw her quickly disappear into the rain, holding her umbrella. This is the second time she's lied to me. The pain on my face felt real. The blood of revenge slowly pulsed through my veins. "Willow, I gave you the chance to save face. From now on, don't blame me." Chapter 6. As expected, I received a message from Makoto, sent privately. He said, "I told you, if I had something, she would show up in front of me immediately. You lost." He quickly retracted the message. I almost crushed my phone. It wasn't that I liked Willow so much. It was because, one day, someone actually dared to shit on my head. He was really asking for trouble. I made a call. Soon, a Bentley pulled up in front of me. I got into the back seat, told the driver an address, and as the car merged into the main road, the woman beside me coldly snorted and said, "How did you manage to make yourself look so pathetic?" I frowned and said, "Stop nagging." Anna teased, "Did you have a fight with your little girlfriend?" I stayed silent. When I dated Willow, I hid my identity. I just wanted a simple relationship. Besides, my relationship with my father wasn't great, and I didn't want to bring up these things. I closed my eyes in the car, trying to think whether I should just scold them both back to their hometowns or find a quiet place to beat them up. But Anna kept talking. It was driving me crazy. I said, "Anna, you can't find a boyfriend because you talk too much." I opened my eyes to look at her. She wasn't angry. Instead, she smiled and said, "This is how you treat your benefactor, calling me out at night like this. I'm going to need extra payment for this." You know, I was really done with her. I said, "You're a rich lady. Why are you so picky about this little bit of money?" She said in a high-pitched voice, "Not picky. I'm just preparing to get married. You know, I've got to learn how to manage the household." I shivered, but then got back to the topic. I said, "I just want to see what he's trying to pull next. By the way, how's that thing I asked you to do going?" She replied, "Don't worry, young Master Wong. All the information will be sent to your inbox in the next few days." I nodded and said, "Especially Maria's IP address. Make sure you keep a close eye on it." Then, I opened my phone and posted a cryptic status, "Evil spirits, stay away." Seeing that I wasn't talking, Anna leaned over and squinted her eyes, saying, "What's going on? Is young Master Wong angry?" I was speechless. I said, "Angry? Do you think I would get mad because of a woman?" She rolled her eyes and said, "But your face is written all over with displeasure." I snapped, "Nonsense. I'm just thinking about how to deal with this properly." She chuckled lightly and said, "If you need help, you can come to me. I love watching those two men fighting for one woman." I was speechless. When I got out of the car, Anna called me back. I turned around helplessly and said, "What now?" She blinked and asked, "About what we talked about last time. Is that still valid?" I didn't answer and quickly walked away. Anna texted me, "Coward." For the next few days, Willow kept texting me, trying to guilt-trip me. I deleted every single message. When she showed up after work to find me, I ignored her completely. I got into the car and left. A week later, she finally stopped me as I was about to get in the car, demanding, "George, what do you mean by this?" I opened the car door, looked at her, and said, "Don't you know what breaking up means? We have no relationship anymore. Understand? Talking to you is really exhausting." Her eyes reddened, and she said, "I didn't agree to it." Then she added, "And I can explain." Her voice trembled as she continued, "Since that day, I haven't contacted him at all." I snorted. "Which day?" Willow's expression flashed with a moment of embarrassment. She bit her lip and said, "The day of the heavy rain." She was really good at being vague, but that night, even after I blocked Makoto, he still sent me a message. "I heard you guys were still using protection when you slept together." I didn't. I was so mad that I spent the entire night hitting the punching bag. And then, from a few clues on Makoto's social media, I found his account. I discovered that, in fact, they had never stopped contacting each other. As if on cue, Makoto appeared and grabbed Willow, saying, "Why are you still looking for him? Look at him. He's renting luxury cars to pick up girls. A guy like him isn't worth your time." I looked at Willow and sneered. "He's right. Just look at how worthless you are." Makoto was speechless. He froze for a second and then said, "I told you, George is just a scumbag. Now you should believe me, right?" Willow grabbed my hand and wouldn't let go. She said, "George, is that true? Have you really already moved on to someone else?" I remained expressionless and said, "Why? Do you need me to report to you?" "Wait, Willow, what's going on with your brain? You went to another man's house, and now you're talking about this. Is this your double standard?" She panicked and explained, "We're just classmates." I laughed. "Yeah, and I'm also classmates with the person in the car. You can go to your classmate's house, so why can't I?" Willow's face showed pain, and she said, "George, you still love me, right? You're just trying to make me jealous, right?" Hearing this, Makoto's face turned pale. I mocked Willow. "Do you want to hear yourself out loud?" The next second, Anna appeared, her long legs stepping out of the car. When Willow compared herself to Anna, everything about her, from looks to aura, was crushed. I heard Willow's voice trembling. "Miss Sue." Chapter 7. When I got in the car, I still heard Makoto's mocking voice. He said, "So, how's it going? Didn't I tell you? A guy like George, renting luxury cars, buying fake bags, using sweet talk to deceive who knows how many rich girls, and now you believe me, right?" I rolled up the window. Anna looked at me with confusion and asked, "Aren't you going to slap him, young Master Wang?" I was speechless. I replied, "You strike the snake by hitting its vital spot, one move to win it all. No chance for a comeback." She asked, "Is it worth it, to go through all this trouble for them?" I didn't answer, just silently looked out the window, thinking about the past. When I was a child, my father had convinced my mother to quit her stable job and start a business. While I was sent to live with my uncle, my aunt didn't like me, so I ended up doing all the housework and looking after my younger siblings. My father would send enough money every month for living expenses, but my aunt would always mock me in front of everyone, saying I ate too much and that the money my parents sent wasn't enough due to the rising cost of living. She'd say they only kept me around because they pitied me. I still remember the embarrassment of being roasted from both sides. Later, she falsely accused me of stealing her money and punished me by making me kneel in the living room while strangers pointed fingers at me. I was forced to submit. I was only 8 years old then. After that incident, I started living on my own. But I'm someone who repays every grudge, no matter how small. I later found out about her affair and spent a long time planning a big scheme. I exposed her dirty secrets to the village, and once rumors started circulating, she couldn't hold her head up anymore. After divorcing my uncle, she returned to her parents' home. So I knew, if I didn't hit the most critical point, it wasn't worth doing at all. I said, "It's not the right time yet. Let's wait." Anna gave me a long, scrutinizing look and said, "Well, I'll wait to see the show you're about to put on." I didn't respond, quietly waiting for the fish to bite. Willow still called me every day, driving me crazy, and the most direct attack came through Makoto, who kept opposing me at work with passive-aggressive comments, until one day, Willow got drunk at a bar with her girlfriends. Sophia called me and said, "George, can't you stop being so petty? We've apologized. Can't that be enough? Come comfort her. She's really upset. If she keeps drinking like this, something bad will happen." I listened to the noisy background and caught the sound of Makoto's mocking laugh. I calmly replied, "If she dies, just call the crematorium." They didn't even try to hide it anymore and began to insult me openly. She cursed. "George, I advise you not to be so ungrateful. Don't do anything too extreme, or you'll get what's coming to you." I fiddled with the watch I had just bought and sneered. "Sophia, thanks for the advice. Maybe I'll be even more extreme. I heard you're getting engaged soon, right?" I hung up, because I knew someone was about to snap. Sure enough, the next day at work, David, a colleague, grabbed me and said, "Brother Wang, did you offend someone?" I asked, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, on the employee forum, someone exposed some bad stuff about you. Maybe you should go home and rest for today." I opened my phone, and the headline on the screen was, "Be careful of being deceived. A scam artist rents luxury cars and buys fake bags to lure rich girls, even preying on elderly women." There were several pictures of me, mostly photos of Anna, the car, and high-definition shots of my father's secretary accompanying me while I bought watches and suits. They even forged some transfer records. Forgot to mention, the company I work for is owned by my father. I've had dinner with him a few times before. Of course, It was just for my own benefit. Makoto had written a passionate little essay exposing everything and posted it. He claimed I was shameless and immoral, that I used mistresses to hook up with wealthy women, and was ruining society's morals. At that exact moment, Willow sent me a link to the Weibo post, saying, "George, I've misjudged you. You make me sick." I glanced at the post. More than 500 people had already shared it. What a coincidence. I quickly forwarded the link to Anna, saying, "Track the IP, make it quick." Then I locked the screen and went into the office with David. I couldn't believe I still walked in like nothing was wrong. Makoto, in full victory mode, didn't even try to hide his mockery as he taunted me in the break room. Fine. The gift I had for him was ready. As soon as I sat down, he walked over and said, "I told you, you should have been more sensible." I pressed record on my phone, then innocently asked, "So, the stuff on the forum was all posted by you, right?" He remained guarded and didn't respond. I wasn't in a hurry. Then, I opened Willow's WeChat. I accidentally played a voice message. "Babe, listen to me. I have nothing to do with Makoto. I don't like him at all. He's just a simp. I never even look at him. And I heard that his circle abroad is a mess, with both men and women involved. How could I like such a guy?" Out of the corner of my eye, I saw his hands clenched, veins bulging. I also had to thank Willow for sending me that message. It helped me locate all of his dirty secrets. I quietly sighed and said, "Simp, really lost all value." He was furious and spat out, "You won't be smug for long." I laughed. I wasn't sure who wouldn't be smug for long. The next second, my father walked into the company with a group of people. He didn't often come to the office, but today he brought Anna along. His face was dark with rage. The entire office was filled with a tense atmosphere, everyone waiting to watch my next move. Chapter 8. My father immediately called an urgent all-hands meeting. David held me back and said, "Brother, don't go in yet." I asked, "Why shouldn't I go?" Not only did I plan to go, but I also had some more exciting things ready for my father's secretary. I sat in the front row of the meeting. Anna pouted at me and shook her head. I checked my phone. She had just sent me a message saying, "You should have made your move sooner." I knew she thought I was too slow, and that my reputation had suffered as a result. I should have struck first. That would have been the most advantageous for me, but I knew that some people's inner darkness was far more terrifying than I had imagined. If I had only made a superficial move, it wouldn't have had the desired effect in the end. Everyone has something they care about, something they can't afford to lose, and what I needed to do was destroy it all, root and branch. Makoto thought he had won, standing there with an upright posture and his eyes practically pointed to the sky. But the next moment, my father spoke up. "I'll be straightforward with all of you." Then he pointed at me and said, "George is my son." Everyone was stunned. Makoto, who had been so arrogant just moments ago, suddenly lost all his confidence. His face turned pale. Look at that. When people get agitated, they lose their composure. Anyone with a brain would know to check into my background. Though, even if he wanted to check, he wouldn't be able to find anything. Then my father continued, "My son, George, was once engaged to Anna from the Sue family." Huh? This wasn't part of my plan. I looked at Anna. She tilted her head and smiled at me. I was speechless. She was pretending to be my fiancé to help clear up the rumors. Somehow, an unfamiliar emotion crawled through my heart. The post's content was explained in just a few simple sentences. I walked up to the stage, watching the police officers enter the room, then turned to Makoto, who was trembling in the audience, and smiled brightly. "Makoto, spreading rumors comes with legal consequences. Do you think we don't have the law in this country? Do you think we don't have justice?" Under everyone's watchful eyes, Makoto was dragged away by the police, his face ashen. As for me, I was going to return the favor. I had my secretary hire a few writers to release part of the information online to clear my name, while another portion would be mailed to his parents, as well as to Willow and Maria's families. My secretary asked, "Should we send it now?" I shook my head, thought for a moment, and said, "The story's not over yet. Let's wait a bit." I heard his parents are both teachers. I wonder what they'll think when they find out about the dirty things their son's been doing abroad. Chapter 9. I also went to the police station to give my statement. The IP addresses used to slander me were traced back to overseas locations, but Makoto hadn't acted directly. He had enlisted Maria's help. From the first time I met them, I could tell their relationship was unusually ambiguous. After all, they were just classmates. Who gets that close to their best friend's boyfriend? She knew all about his personal matters and even defended him. If Maria hadn't been so unattractive, she probably would have taken his place by now. So, I had Anna look into Maria's background. What a revelation. No wonder Makoto had been spreading all those lies about me. He was doing the exact same thing. Makoto's reputation overseas was already in tatters. He'd been living a disreputable life abroad, pretending to be a successful businessman, scamming female students who had just arrived, tricking them for money and sex. He'd even gotten someone pregnant and then ran off. But as the saying goes, evil deeds come back to bite you. He got caught by a gang leader, who broke his legs and exposed him in the Chinese community. So, in the end, when he couldn't get by abroad, Makoto slinked back to the country and tried to rekindle his relationship with his ex-girlfriend Willow. At the police station, Makoto was shouting, "George, you bastard." I shrugged and nonchalantly replied, "You think you're so clever? If I liked Willow that much, I would have messed everything up by now. But sorry, I'm not a simp. I don't like her that much." Makoto was shaking as he looked at the police and stammered, "I didn't spread those rumors. You're wrongfully accusing me." Meanwhile, Maria had already surrendered and handed over all the chat logs and voice recordings to the police. Even though Makoto hadn't acted directly, he was the mastermind behind it. I turned to Maria and said, "Maria, you told me to call the police that day, didn't you? Well, here we are." In the end, I didn't support any mediation. Maria and Makoto were both detained for defamation, and I demanded they publicly apologize online until I was satisfied. With a criminal record, Maria lost the job she had just gotten. Makoto was also fired from my father's company, and we reserved the right to pursue legal action against him. You could have fired them right away. Why wait for them to release those posts? After we left, Anna asked me. I smiled and said, if I fired them, they'd get compensation. People like him aren't worth a single cent more from me. She snorted and teased, "You really are a heartless capitalist." When we got home, my father was sitting on the couch waiting for me. "Son," I didn't say anything, just walked over and sat down. He reached out to pull me closer, but I pushed him away. He paused, lowered his head, and sighed. "You should have told me earlier," I replied. "You're so busy. When would you have time to care about my stuff?" He said, "You're my son. How could I let you suffer like this?" I awkwardly looked away. Actually, it had been a long time since we sat down like this and talked. In the past, I had only used him. Seeing that I didn't respond, he continued, "I know, you haven't forgiven me, but in this world, you're all I have. Everything I do it for you. If you're not happy, what's the point of all this?" I'm not one for words, and I always carry an air of aloof indifference. But somehow, when he said that, a tinge of emotion crept up my nose. He paused and added, "I regret what happened with your mother." "I miss her too." I asked. "You miss her? Then why didn't you go see her all these years?" I couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears started to fall as I looked at him, angrily saying, "She was supposed to come to my parent-teacher meeting that day, but you called her to deliver some documents, and she got into a car accident. If you hadn't asked her to go, she'd still be alive." My words struck him hard. His face showed clear pain as his eyes reddened, and he said, "I'm sorry." I gritted my teeth and said, "Sorry won't bring my mother back." I left those words hanging in the air and stormed off to my room, slamming the door behind me. Chapter 10. Things were calm for only a few days, until the day Makoto and Maria were released. Willow, for the first time ever, called me. She said, "George, we need to talk." I asked, "About what?" She replied, "My friends want to apologize to you." I laughed and said, "If apologies worked, why do we even need the police?" It seemed like her friends must have found out about the situation between her and Makoto, and were now trying to placate me out of fear. But it was too late. There was a long silence on Willow's end before she softly said, "I'm sorry, George. It was me who hurt you. It had nothing to do with anyone else, but about the things you lied to me about, like hiding the fact that you're a rich heir. I didn't hold it against you." I was speechless and said, "So, the point of this call is that you want to settle scores with me, right?" Willow didn't answer, but I could hear her voice was dry. She said, "You lied to me first, so I lied to you. We can call it even. But the others, they are my good friends, my close companions. They shouldn't be punished for the mess between us." I asked, "What do you want to say?" She replied, "They want to have a meal with you and apologize in person. After that, we'll go our separate ways. You can continue on your path, and we'll continue with ours. What do you think?" I answered, "Sure. Send me the time and address." Before I even had the chance to deal with the others, they couldn't sit still anymore, so I decided to settle it all in one go, saving myself from having to go after each one individually. Before I left, Anna called and warned me that it was a trap. She said, since they hated me, they'd definitely cause trouble. I replied indifferently, "It doesn't matter. I'm just going to see how they plan to mess with me." She sighed and said, "Then you need to stay on the phone with me. I'm ready to call an ambulance at any moment." I said, "Don't worry about me. Don't you remember I'm a kickboxing expert?" Anna answered, "I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about them. Just go easy on them." I chuckled, "Don't worry, they won't die." When I arrived, all 5 of them were there. Of course, a family needs to be complete. As soon as they saw me, they stood up cautiously to greet me. I took a long stride and sat down near the door. I crossed my arms and looked at them, saying, "Well, let's hear it. How do you plan to apologize?" Willow reluctantly stood up first and said, "George, I'm sorry. I admit I hurt you. And I shouldn't have trampled on your love for me." I was speechless. What was she talking about? I never loved her. I was just interested in her body. She continued, "You made me lose my job. I think that makes us even, right?" I looked up and realized that her job loss was the issue. Willow worked at the Sioux group. If it hadn't been for me reaching out to Anna, I would never have met Willow. I perked up, wondering what other tricks she might try. When she saw I didn't respond, she bit her lip and said, "But you were involved with Anna while you were with me. I'm a victim here too. Let's not talk about it anymore. You rich people like to play with women's emotions. And I guess I'll just have to accept it. We can never see each other again after today." I laughed and said, "All right, next." I gently tapped my glass. Sophia stood up, not even looking at me. She spoke with disdain despite the supposed apology, sneering as she said, "Sorry, I shouldn't have tried to defend my friend." She implied that I was the one ruining their friendship. She added, "From now on, I'll stay far away from people like you. You're a big shot, so you can forgive me, right?" I didn't say anything, and she sat down. It was like watching a bunch of elementary school kids giving apologies, each one trying to throw in a few digs along the way. Alicia said, "I shouldn't have called you poor. I was being blind." "Okay," Maria said, "I shouldn't have tried to get Willow to break up with you." Finally, it was Makoto's turn. He sighed and said, "Sorry, George, I shouldn't have tried to steal Willow from you." I rubbed my ears and asked, "Did a dog chew on your voice? Why are you speaking so softly? Are you reading scriptures to your ancestors?" Makoto was furious. He shot a look at Maria, frowned, and then raised his voice. "Sorry, please forgive my ignorance." I smiled and said, "I remember you like drinking, right? Then drink that bottle and apologize to me." Maria couldn't sit still anymore. She said unhappily, "Makoto is allergic to alcohol." I smiled. "You know so much." "Ah, Maria, if it weren't for that face of yours, even a mosquito wouldn't want to bite. You'd probably have taken his place overseas a long time ago." Both of them were left speechless, their faces red with embarrassment. I turned to Willow. Oh, it seemed like she didn't know. I added fuel to the fire. "Willow, you didn't know. I thought you two best friends shared everything." Willow's face darkened. I raised an eyebrow and glanced at the group. No one dared speak. I casually ate a few bites of food. Damn, it was awful. They were trying to fool me with this trash. I stood up and said, "The alley outside seems like a good place for an apology. Line up and bow to me. Show me your sincerity." They exchanged glances and then followed me out. Chapter 11. After we came out, Makoto took the first shot. He shouted, "What's so arrogant about you, you bastard? Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson for them." But I ignored him completely. In their puzzled gazes, I took off my coat and threw it over the surveillance camera to block it. Then I shook my head, stretched my muscles, and said, "All right, that dry apology back there was really boring. You guys don't know how painful it is because the harm didn't fall on you. If I go too easy or too hard later, just bear with it." Without waiting for anyone to react, I first gave Willow 3 loud slaps, shouting, "You're the best at shifting the blame." "Ah, well, then I wish you a house full of children. But no one knows who the real father is." In the next moment, I quickly stepped up to Makoto and slapped him hard across the face. I cursed, "Look at you, shameless as hell. You don't even look like a pig. Let me help you out." "Great." His face was already swollen. "Sophia, who loves to run her mouth." I gave her a big slap right on her mouth. I laughed and said, "You must be the 3 letters between A and D, I and P, V and N on a keyboard. Why are you so fond of meddling in other people's business? Why don't you go try the taste of the manure truck passing by the door?" Did she think I didn't know about her mess? "I've got all the materials ready for the Discipline Inspection Commission." As she wanted. "She'll be far away from me soon. I bet she'll be so happy." Heh. Then there's Alicia. I turned around and slapped her fake nose hard, yelling, "Has your stomach been bothering you lately? So much that you've lost your mind? You're not just blind. You're like a dog chasing the moon, clueless about your limits." I sent her husband a nice little gift, wondering how he'll react when he finds out she was already with her brother. Finally, Maria, who took advantage of their student relationship to play games and spread rumors about me. I pulled her over and slapped her continuously, giving her a real beating. I said, "Let me give you some advice. Having an empty head is fine, but don't let it fill with water. Makoto tells you to do something, you just do it. With your IQ, you should eat a whale to boost your brain power." Then, I started going after everyone indiscriminately. By the time they were all kneeling and begging for mercy, I clapped my hands and said, "Listen, don't think just because you're a bunch of people, you can go head to head with me. What I've done to you is already a light punishment. I've never been a likable person because I hold grudges. You slap me once, I'll slap you back, and I'll punch and kick you as well. Sometimes, when the law can't solve the problem, I solve it in my own way, George's way." Chapter 12. By the time I got home, It was already late. The lights were still on inside, so I knew my dad was back. I went in, took off my clothes, and sat across from him. After a moment of silence, he said, "Don't worry. I'll handle everything from here on out. No one humiliates my son and gets away with it." I didn't say anything and just crossed my legs, playing on my phone. He seemed a little awkward and sighed. "I don't have many desires. I just want you to be happy and healthy." I said, "Dad, do you think I'd be healthy growing up if I didn't do these things?" I looked up and stared into his eyes. "Before I was 5, I had a family with both parents, but you insisted on doing business and abandoned our stable life, leaving me alone in my hometown." I paused and continued. "Do you know what my life was like back then? At school, people would say I had parents who gave birth to me but didn't raise me. After school, I'd do my homework, wash rice, steam the food, take showers, cut vegetables, and take care of my younger siblings. My aunt would constantly belittle me, and my uncle would never step up and say a word." I paused again before continuing. "The living expenses you gave me never made it to my hands. There was one time I saw others eating snacks, and I actually drooled. Do you know how shameful I felt?" I sneered as I spoke. "After middle school, when you finally achieved some success, you brought me to the big city. But do you know what my life was like in school? Ridiculed, bullied, and tormented. My arms and legs were always covered in scars, and I didn't dare show them to you, because even if I was beaten, I didn't want to be alone again. I just wanted my mom and dad. So, I worked hard to become stronger. I learned taekwondo, learned sansho, and hung out with delinquents learning how to curse. I didn't want to bully others. I just wanted to protect myself. I didn't want you and mom to worry about me. I wanted a complete family. The so-called prestigious school you put me in was just a smaller version of the underworld. Finally, I had the ability to fight back. And what did you say? You told me not to stir up trouble, not to learn from others and fight. Did you ever ask me why I did all that? You thought it was embarrassing not to attend parent-teacher meetings and even told mom not to come. That day, it was the first time in 3 years that mom was going to attend my parent-teacher meeting. Do you know how happy I was? But I didn't even get to see her for the last time. You lied to me saying she was on a business trip, and only after my midterms did you tell me the truth that she wasn't coming back. How can I ever forgive you for that?" He remained silent for a long time, tears streaming down his face. I wiped the tears from my own face and sniffed, saying, "Dad, we both need time to get over this." I stood up to go upstairs when I heard his aged voice. "But George, I will always love you. I'm always on your side, and from now on, I'll try my best to make up for it." I didn't respond, and as I was about to go upstairs, I saw Anna standing by the pillar. I don't know how much she heard, but it didn't matter. She knew all about my past. I turned my gaze away and walked upstairs. As I looked at the family photo on my bedside table, I broke down in tears. George, might be a cold, calculating, and ruthless person, but I will always be my parents' child, their little one, forever in their eyes. If I could, who wouldn't want a peaceful, beautiful life? In the next moment, my phone vibrated. I took it out. It was a message from Anna. "Do you want to open the door and move into my warm embrace?" I replied, "Go away." But I still wanted to thank her. Without her, during those middle school and high school years, I don't know if I could have become the strong George the first am today. Anna asked again, "Remember when we said, if neither of us is married by 30, we'll be together? Don't back out now, Mr. Man." I frowned and replied, 3 more years, wait for me." She responded, "Then I'll be waiting for you to marry me." She's crazy. I pulled out my high school graduation photo, where Anna was standing right next to me. She flashed a peace sign at the camera, and I, foolishly, smiled. In my yearbook, she wrote, "No matter where you go, I'll be here waiting for you." And my message to her was, I don't need anyone waiting for me, because I'll fly higher and higher. I thought, well, the future. Let's leave that for the future. Anna's side story, Chapter 1. George is different from all of us. He has a pair of stubborn eyes and a natural air of arrogance. More than half of the class is made up of students who've come up from the same elementary school. They form cliques, favor the rich, and dislike the poor. At such a young age, we're all exposed to these kinds of things. When George first arrived, everyone was curious about him, especially when they learned he was from the countryside. I sat behind him. I always saw him sitting straight, like a wolf pup ready to pounce. It seemed like he was trying hard to fit in. Then, after the first test, he came in first place. The day after that, during the break, I noticed his arm was bruised and purple. Later, I heard that he had been isolated by the former top student in the class, who had begun bullying him. I remembered that guy. His last name was Bai, and he dressed very neatly. Such things were common at this school. The wealthy ones all have this "I don't like you, and you don't like me" attitude. I was worried about George, but he remained completely calm, calmer than any 12-year-old should be. If it had been anyone else, they would have run to the teacher or their parents, crying and complaining. But not him. He still sat up straight and continued coming in first place on every test. One day, I happened to run into him being attacked in the bathroom. Just as a fist was about to land, I saw him grab the person's hand and counterattack. Everyone around us was stunned, but, unfortunately, there were too many of them, and George's strength alone wasn't enough. I helped him and called the teacher. In the past, I'd been afraid of being isolated, so I never dared to interfere in these things. But seeing him take the blows, my heart hurt. George leaned against the wall to get up and thanked me. Before I could say anything, he looked at me and said, "Don't get involved with me. They might retaliate against you. I'll get stronger on my own." I looked into his clear, bright eyes and, for some reason, my heart started beating faster. Later, I ran into him at a training class. He was learning Sancho, and his eyes were filled with fierce determination. Suddenly, I remembered that moment when he fought back, and I could see it reflected in the current him. This person is incredibly resilient. From being trampled underfoot to being able to throw punches and hit back with both hands. He didn't take long at all. He said, "I never start trouble, but I'm not afraid of it. If someone respects me by a foot, I'll give back a yard, but if they slap me, I'll punch and kick them back." Such a stubborn wolf pup. After that, no one dared to bully him anymore. He earned their respect with his own strength. When he entered high school, he became more withdrawn and silent. That proud wolf pup seemed to have collapsed all at once. I found out later that his mother had passed away. He didn't seem to have many friends and became even more isolated, more solitary, with a bad temper, but his grades were still among the best. Whenever someone new who didn't know his backstory tried to challenge him, he'd break their hand with a single strike. One day, I asked him why he wasn't happy. He said he'd always felt like the extra one, the one who didn't belong. His parents were never home, and his uncle and aunt didn't like him. Finally, when the whole family could gather, his parents were just too busy. The only person who loved him, his mother, had died in a car accident. It seemed like this world was just like that. Later, in the high school yearbook, I wrote, "No matter where you go, I'll be here waiting for you." He smiled and wrote, "I don't need anyone to wait for me, because I'll fly higher and higher." Those were truly the words of the proud and stubborn George. Anna's side story, Chapter 2. There was always no one around George and me, until one day, when I took advantage of his drunken state and jokingly tested him by saying, "If we're both single by the time we're 30, how about we try being together?" He drunkenly agreed. I recorded the conversation as evidence, so that later on, he wouldn't be able to back out. I'm such a bad woman. But then one day, I saw a post on his social media saying that he had a girlfriend. I asked him how he suddenly got a girlfriend. He said that other girls were reserved and slow, but this one, when he gave her a gift and confessed, she accepted immediately. He'd never met such an unpretentious girl. The most important thing was, George said this girl was gentle and cute. I looked her up. Her name was Willow. She worked at Sue Group. It seemed like it was I who had introduced them. When I found out, I nearly wanted to kill myself, but then I realized, George seemed to like gentle and cute people. During that time, I tried my best to change, until one day, the maid looked at me with a troubled expression and asked, "Miss Sue, are you planning to fire me?" I was confused. She said, "I don't know why, but lately, your smile gives me the creeps." I was practicing being gentle, and they said I gave them the creeps. Forget it. Sue, can't learn to be that way. So I gave up. I thought George was just casually dating, but to my surprise, a whole year passed. Every time, I secretly hid downstairs from his house, watching him come back. I couldn't help but wish that the person walking beside him was me. "I'd wait right here behind you, George. You just have to turn around, and you'd see me." It hurt so much to realize that there was someone I could never have. Thinking about it made me angry. Then one day, he called me and asked me to help him look up something. Since he started dating, we hadn't talked in a long time. I asked what was going on. He said it was nothing, just that he was itching for a fight. He hadn't felt that rush in a while. I realized maybe that woman had betrayed him. I was so angry. The man I liked was being cheated on. So, I had people investigate it all. That day, it was raining, and George called me to meet him. I knew that he was about to do something. Sitting in the car with him, he looked tired, almost like he'd gone back to his student days. I knew sometimes, he didn't want to look back. I wanted Sue Group to step in and help him, but he stopped me, saying, "I don't get involved with people's problems, but if someone crosses me, I'll make them pay. Don't worry about it." The fierceness in his eyes made me think of the George who once learned Taekwondo and Sancho. The George the first loved, always with his head held high, fighting against anyone who challenged him. He said, "If the law can't solve something, I'll handle it my way. I always keep my word." George is really handsome. That day, he was dressed in a sharp black outfit, knee guards and pads, fully geared up. Watching him block the cameras and beat those people up, I was overjoyed. I thought, finally, he must have blown off some steam. But then, after everything was dealt with, I saw him quietly sitting by the river. He sat there for a long time, deep in thought. He was probably thinking about his mother. I really wanted to go up and be with him, but I knew, at this moment, he probably wanted to be alone. I followed him back home and listened to the things he said. Actually, I already knew everything, but hearing those words about the bullying from his own mouth made it so hard to breathe. He tore apart all the layers of pretense and let out the softest part of himself as he yelled at his dad. But I understood. This was him starting to let go. He was finally ready to put the past behind him and start over. I said to him, "How about opening the door? Come stay in my gentle haven." He replied, "Go away, go away." That stubborn wolf pup was back. Even if he doesn't accept me now, it doesn't matter. The world is round, and the people who are meant to be together will eventually come together. So, George, for the rest of our lives, please take care of me.